Today's openings begin with Section 6 Brewing Company's English Ale. Their tasting notes include words like biscuit and caramel and malt. From Section 6 Brewing in Brandon, Manitoba. That is a very nice tasting ale. So first thing in, feels like a multi-pack. So let's see what kind of things I got in here. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Got 5 different packages in there. These 3 look the same and those 2 look the same. So let's start ripping into these and just verifying that they are in fact what I assume are the same things. And yeah, they are. These are more of the breakout boards for the stepper motor drivers. And as you may recall, in the last mailbag a couple weeks ago, I got, I think, one of these and several stepper motor drivers. So figured I'd pick up some more of these just to rebuild the stock again. This listing has a few different options, but the one that I got is these breakout boards that are for the 8825 or 4988 3D printer stepper motor driver boards, shields, ramps, Arduino, etc., etc. I got these for $2 each, and as you can see, I got a 3-pack of them. And as I mentioned the last time we saw these, they just make it really easy to use those stepper motor breakout boards. I mean, you could plug them into a breadboard and use them that way, but for a slightly more permanent installation, this works pretty well. There's motor power comes in over there. There's the 2 coils of the motor, 4 wires go out there. The module itself plugs onto there. The logic inputs, the control inputs go there. You've got 5 volts and ground, and direction and step and enable pins on the yellow ones there. And then over here, the micro-stepping controls, just to put it into the various different micro-stepping modes to get more precision out of your motor's positioning. And then these 2, which, oh, they are different. Okay. Well, let's look at this one first then. It is, looks like a USB-A or USB-C device that adapts to, oh, that's micro SD. Okay. And on the USB-A, you just hinge it up and it becomes a, now then, is that a micro or a mini? I can never remember which one is which. Anyway, it is the one that's one age or one generation before the USB-C, not the larger one. But that basically allows me to use a phone or anything else really, and put my SD card in there to offload files. I specifically got this for using on my phones to transfer on and off of SD cards, partly for data transfer purposes, partly for when I'm out with another phone or another camera and I want to just offload files onto my phone to keep going and then, upload them from my phone. That should make it fairly easy, I hope. And then it's always good to just have another USB-A to SD card as well. 5-in-1 multifunction USB 2.0 Type-C USB micro USB. Okay, so it is a micro. TFSD memory card reader, on-the-go card reader adapter, mobile phone accessories. So for, $3.50, I think that'll be a convenient thing to just carry with me. It can also plug in any other type of USB accessory in there that you want, including a memory stick, or I don't know why you'd want to put another Wi-Fi card on there, but you could, or keyboard and mouse or game controller. That might be useful. I hadn't really considered those other options. I was mostly just in it to get the Type-C to micro SD, because of course most modern phones these days don't have an SD card slot anymore. So if you want to get files on and off from an SD card, like I mentioned, out of my camera, that is definitely one way to do it. All right, and then what is this other thing here? It is a USB to fast Ethernet adapter. Okay. I'm trying to remember why I ordered this. I think it was to give one of my Raspberry Pis a second Ethernet connection so that I can try and use it as a router or a bridge. Yeah, that's what rings a bell. So it's nothing fancy. It's just, like I said, a cheap USB to Ethernet adapter. USB to RJ45 Ethernet cable splitter, not really a splitter, extend adapter. Yeah, it's an adapter, 100 megabit per second, which is fine for a laptop or tablet or computer or whatever. $6.50. They also have one that's micro USB and one that's Type C, but for the application that I wanted it for, the USB-A is just fine. Other than that, there's just the description on how to get it to work with Windows if you don't have the right driver, and that is always an issue on Windows. I'm going to try it right away on this Linux computer that you're currently looking over my shoulder at and see what happens. It claims it'll work on Linux, so it probably should. No time like the present to give it a try. I'm not going to connect it to the network right now. I'm just going to connect it to the USB and see if it gets recognized. And sure enough, there it is right there. Perfect. So I think that could be handy. I might even be able to turn this computer into a router if I wanted to, or a bridge, or actually another application that I have been thinking of is to set up a computer, just a throwaway computer, to intercept Wi-Fi from a suspicious device, like if I get some Wi-Fi device from China that I don't trust on my network, and just run Wireshark on it and see what it does. All kinds of possibilities, but initially, like I said, I was planning on using it with a Raspberry Pi just to give it 2 network interfaces. Well, that was a successful multi-pack, and this one feels like another multi-pack, so let's jump in there and see what we got. Again, looks like 1, 2, 3 different things in here. Let's start with this one, which is a little battery tester device. If you've been watching Julian Eilert over the last year, you will have seen him playing with several different versions of this thing. His application's a lot more specialized than mine. I simply just want to use it as a battery tester for the random batteries that I have around here. I mean, I could use voltmeters, but the difference between using a voltmeter and using something like this is that these things put a load on the battery, a little bit of a load, not a massive one, but they are giving a little bit more accurate test than just an open circuit voltage. And as you can see, this 9 volt is marginal. On the back, it's even got a chart showing what good low power and replace means. So that is convenient. Should I take this apart? Now, I'll maybe take that apart later. Nah, why not do it right now? This is a very simple device. It won't take very much time to take it apart. There's just 2 screws on the back. The only possible problem with this is if it springs apart and launches pieces into the atmosphere. But no, it doesn't even have any springs. So there is the positive contact that just slides along. That goes to one side of the meter and this little board. And then the negative contact is that one there. And that's the other positive from the 9 volt. And then we have this little circuit board here, which has an assortment of resistors on it. 3.9 ohms, 220 ohms, 3600, and 560 ohms. And these will be putting a bit of a load on the battery so that we get a little bit more accurate reading. One of them will be a parallel resistance for the 1.5 volt batteries, and the other ones will probably be a voltage divider and then a bit of a load for the 9 volt battery over here. Nice, simple little device, convenient size package, just what you want for the job. BT168 Universal Battery Tester Power Meter for AA, AAA, CD 9 volt, 1.5 volt button cells. Okay. Ooh, currently going for $663. It was about half that when I bought it several months ago. There's links to similar ones down here. Scroll through if you want to try and find something a little bit more reasonable price. Anyway, there's not that much to say about it other than what we already saw. It is just a really convenient and quite affordable little battery tester. Handy thing to have around. Anyway, that's enough about that. On to the next thing, which is a kit of bits and pieces here. What are we? 50 pieces, D2 double line interlocking detachable LED welding 2-pin bunticle connector. That description was less helpful than I thought it would be. So I see there's a little tool down in underneath there. Let's pull that out too. Oh, okay, that's just a little punch down tool and wire stripping tool. And then an insulation displacement connector on that side. And, oh, do these just... Okay, they just connect together like that. Well, that's neat. So what is that tool for? That is for like punching down onto a punch block or something like that. I don't think it is relevant to these connectors. Well, maybe it is. I don't know. Anyway, that's a neat little type of connector. I've never seen these before, so of course that's why I would have bought them. There's a little insulation displacement bit. It grabs in two different places, front and back there on each of the wires. And it is for fairly skinny wires. These are, I think, 20 or 22 gauge. So it looks like they go in through those two holes. And then you clamp that down and squeeze it with something stronger than hands, I guess. Maybe with a pair of pliers. I'm not getting a click. There is a little tab there that is supposed to click in between the black part and the clear part. It looks like, I think I've got it. Yeah, that seems to be grabbing. Okay. So that should then, yeah, okay. And that one, yep. All right. So it seems to do the business if you've got a relatively light wire. And that's the wire that I've used, which, like I said, I think is about a 20 or 22 gauge stranded. There is the insulation displacement bites into it, so it doesn't wreck the jacket too badly, and it does get down into the copper. That's pretty good. As usual with insulation displacement connectors, you wouldn't want to use those in a damp environment or in a non-weather controlled environment, but for indoors they might be okay. I mean, as okay as any insulation displacement connector. Wonder how cheap they were. 50 pieces, D2 double line interlocking detachable LED without welding 2-pin bidirectional insert cable buckle connector. Not quite sure what they're talking about LED up there, but maybe they're suggesting that they're good for using to power non-addressable LED strips. I don't know. Anyway, currently they are going for $8.79, but when I bought them a couple of months ago, they were only $5, or just a bit under $5. Not a lot more detail down here. Basically what we already figured out ourselves. They don't explain what that tool is for. I don't think it's relevant. I think it's just an extra that they throw in just cause. And what is the third thing that was in that multi-pack? For Alicia Yale picking... this is a walk picking tool. Not something that I do very much on the channel, but I have shown it in the past. Now, this is a new type of tool that, well, relatively new in the last few years. It is actually intended for decoding a lock as much as it is for picking it. You fold that up to give you some rotational leverage, and then this maps out the positions of the pins, and there's a little pointer there. So pin 1, pin 2, pin 3, pin 4, pin 5. Or if there's pins are in a slightly different orientation, there's a second set of numbers down the bottom, and then there's the cut heights 1, 2, 3, 4. And as you're working your way through the walk and lifting the pins up to the test positions until you find what you're doing, you should be able to feel what's going on and make note of where the pins are. And if you do it all right, you should, in theory, be able to cut yourself a key if you have, a key cutting machine, and do it by the numbers. The one downside of this type of tool is that each one is only designed for a specific keyway. Well, it might fit into a few different ones that are similar enough, but generally they're only designed for one family of keyways. And this one, according to the package, says it's for Yale locks, although I don't know that it is. This is the SS001 or 002. For Alicia Yale picking S001 or S002, 2-in-1 locksmith tools, master key decoder, hooks, etc., other things to open locks. Sure. Currently it's going for about $14.48. These do go fairly expensive. They claim that the regular price is $31. It was $6.70 when I bought it months ago, which is why I jumped on it, because you don't usually see them that cheap. Although, I mean, you could probably search through and find other listings for them. Anyway, there's not much more to say about them down here other than what we already discussed earlier. So I guess I will play with it a little bit and see if I need more practice to actually use it. Also see if I have any locks in my collection that fit this one, or maybe I will have to look for a good price on some of the other models of them. I'm not sure yet. No, it does not actually fit into any of the locks that I have in my collection, which is a little annoying. That means that I have to either expand my collection or get a variety of these when I see them on sale, which is honestly the more likely. Oh, actually, they're both likely to happen, but I just don't know which is going to happen first. Anyway, that's what it is, and I would like to be able to show it to you, but I will have to do some legwork first. And now, the last and largest thing in. It doesn't say what it is on the outside of the box, and it is heavily taped, so let's just dig in here. What do we have? What do we have? Oh yeah, that I definitely remember ordering. Oh, I hope the condition of the box isn't indicating anything going on inside. This is, as you can tell, a moving type stage light. Of course, the cheapest of the kind that I could find. These are relatively expensive compared to the usual cheap stage lights that I have bought in the past, because, you know, they got motors and stuff in them. Anyway, who cares about the manual? Let's actually get into it here. Ooh, it comes with a remote control too, so I don't even have to use it with DMX if I don't want to. It also comes with a really low budget power cord, like all of these things do. And then there is the main event. Much smaller than I thought. Let me just get all this packaging out of the way here. So there we go. The head flips a little bit more than 180 degrees. The yoke rotates almost 360 degrees. There is a stop there. I guess that makes sense because you don't want to twist up the wires. It has 6 LEDs in there. And a white ring around the outside that looks suspiciously like LED neon. And then on the back we have 3-pin XLRs for DMX in and out. And as you would expect for the cheapest possible device, it is using non-standard 3-pin XLR instead of the DMX standard 5-pin, but yeah, that's not a surprise. And then there is the power connection there. On the bottom, there's a couple of screws for mounting this bracket so that you can screw it to the ceiling. This is obviously not intended to be mounted onto a professional lighting rig, and people would laugh at you if you tried. And then on the front here, we have the usual menu, up, down, and enter, and 4 7-segment LEDs. So the menu will step it through manual modes and also into setting the DMX address, which you'll be able to set with the up and down buttons and enter. Somewhere on here there will be infrared receiver for this thing, which I'm going to guess is batteries not included. as expected, and it uses a CR2025, so I have to dig around here and find one of those. But while I'm gathering resources to test this thing out just quickly, let's take a look at the listing and see how much I paid for this, which is, again, probably too much for what it is, but it will have been the cheapest version that I found. 30-watt disco party light, remote control, mini LED beam, RGBW, rotating DJ mobile strobe, DMX512, stage lighting for club, event, and dance. Probably more for event and dance than club. This is a pretty tiny little light, but whatever. Currently going for $65.38, which they say is on sale from $100 and some dollars. I, of course, did not pay that much. I only paid $50 Canadian, which is still probably more than I should have paid for this light, but I was just curious. Anyway, there is what it has to say about it, which is pretty much what it said in the manual. There's a bunch of different colors, and it rotates this way and this way. It does not go 540 degrees in the x-axis. It goes slightly less than 360. And in the y-axis, yeah, it does go 180 degrees. Oh yeah, and it does look like it has LEDs around the ring there too, not just the ones in the middle. Okay. Let's throw the power cord onto it. Like I said, I'm not going to use DMX right now. I just want to see if it works and what it does. So plug it in just off to the side there. We have some numbers on the on that. Oh, is it doing things? Yes, it is doing a homing thing. Okay. Presumably it homed by crashing into the end stops. It's in sound activated mode right now. Oh, there it goes. It's doing things. It's just doing things automatically. Show, sense, speed, LED, display, something, something, address, channel, show. Okay, so I'm guessing that it's just doing things right now. Let's put it in auto mode. Turn it on. There's auto mode. Oh wow, that's blinding. I mean, yeah, of course it's blinding. I'm just a foot away from it. But it seems to be doing things. It's not super quiet when it's doing it. It's got a fan on it, which is noisy. The stepper motors are stepper motors. That's painful when it hits me in the eyes. Well, it seems to be doing what it's supposed to do. There's red, green, blue, white, an auto pattern 1, auto pattern 2, auto pattern 3. I'm reading this off the screen down here, by the way. Sound activated mode. Okay, what button was that? Sound activated mode 2. Okay, so it looks like there's 9 different functions that I can do here. And I don't know how I can control these things chasing around the outsides there. Ah, that's annoying. Anyway, yeah, it works. Stay tuned for a deeper dive into this thing and a teardown and whatnot once I've read the manual and played with it a little bit. Now then, let's clear this stuff out of the way and wrap up the video. And there is the contents of today's Mailbag Monday haul. Quite the wide variety, as is often the case. I'll start off with this just basic, simple little battery tester. Just a handy thing to have around. You can use a multimeter to test batteries, but as I mentioned, this thing puts a little bit of a load on it, so it gives you a little bit more of an accurate indication of what's going on. Got these 3 stepper driver interface boards to go with the stepper drivers that I previously got. Useful for restocking and handy things to have in the collection. And there's this just TF card or SD card reader that will do 3 different types of USB connections, so you can plug it into whatever device you want. I specifically got it because it's got a Type-C on it so that I can use it with my phone. But as a bonus, it also breaks out another USB-A, so I could use it with this thing to give my phone a wired connection should I want to, or should I need to plug into a wired connection. But what I really got this for is, like I mentioned, to add a second Ethernet connection onto a Raspberry Pi. We have these connectors here. They are better than I expected, actually. Usually I'm not all that impressed with insulation displacement connectors, but for what they are, they're not bad, and I got 50 of them for fairly cheap. And then there's this little lock pick tool. For the right type of lock, I think this will be really handy. I don't have the right type of lock for this one right now, which means I will probably go searching for others that fit some of the locks in my collection, but I'm also going to go searching for a used, aka cheap, lock that does work with this thing, so I can get some practice in with that type of tool. And then there is this super cheap little moving light over here, which I'm going to have fun playing with, and as I mentioned, I'm also going to have fun taking apart and looking inside and playing with in a future video, so stay tuned for that. It might be okay to have like a couple of these if you were doing like a basement disco or frat house or something like that, but obviously I wouldn't use those in a professional setting, but just for fun, I think it could be a cool little light. Anyway, thanks for watching. I appreciate that as always. Questions and comments down below. Thanks to my YouTube channel members and Patreon supporters for helping me finance this and helping keep the beer fridge full. I could not do it without you guys. I will talk to you later.